निर्विशेषा शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देश तारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर वासादि गौर भक्त वृंदम। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna, dear devotees. So please let me know if you are in a position to read today. Prema Bhakti, can you read?
Haribol Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhu. Yes. Do you want to read
first 10 verses?
First text. Okay, let's get my own version up here. Okay. Text 1. Srila Sukadeva Goswami said, after offering obeisances to the direction from which Ananta, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, had disappeared, Chitraketu began traveling in outer space as the head of the Viharas. Being praised by great sages and saints and by the inhabitants of Siddhaloka and Charanaloka, Chitraketu, the most powerful mystic yogi, wandered about enjoying life for millions of years, with bodily strength and senses free from deterioration. He traveled within the valleys of Sumeru mountain, which is the place of perfection for various kinds of mystic power. In those valleys, he enjoyed life with the women of the Viharas Loka by chanting the glories of the Supreme Lord Hari. One time, while King Chitraketu was traveling in outer space on a brilliantly effulgent airplane given by him by Lord Vishnu, he saw Lord Shiva surrounded by Siddhas and Charanas. Lord Shiva was sitting in an assembly of great saintly persons and embracing Parvati on his lap with his arms. Chitraketu laughed loudly and spoke within the hearing of Parvati. Chitraketu said, Lord Vishnu, the spiritual master of the general populace, is the best of all living entities who have accepted material bodies. He enunciates the system of religion, yet how wonderful it is that he is embracing his wife Parvati in the midst of an assembly of great saintly persons. Lord Shiva, whose hair is matted on his head, has certainly undergone great austerities and penances. Indeed, he is the president in the assembly of strict followers of Vedic principles. Nonetheless, he is seated with his wife on his lap in the midst of saintly person and is embracing her as if he were a shameless, ordinary human being. Ordinary conditioned persons generally embrace their wives and enjoy their company in solitary places. However, it is that Lord Madhava Dev, although a great master of austerity, is embracing his wife openly in the midst of an assembly of great saints. Srila Sukadeva Goswami continued, my dear king, after hearing Chitraketu's statement, Lord Shiva, the most powerful personality whose knowledge is fathomless, simply smiled and remained silent, and all the members of the assembly followed the Lord by not saying anything. Not knowing the powers of Lord Shiva and Parvati, Chitraketu strongly criticized them. His statements were not at all pleasing, and therefore the goddess Parvati, being very angry, spoke as follows to Chitraketu, who thought himself better than Lord Shiva in controlling the senses. The goddess Parvati said, Alas, has this
Thank you, Prabhu.
heart
I
now?
think it's, yeah,
Oh,
it's
sorry,
yeah,
for
1 till 10.
Oh, sorry, yeah, I'm on a different screen.
So this is a very interesting chapter, the Srimad Bhagavatam. So in the previous chapter, so we had seen how Chitraketu Maharaj was in deep agony upon the death of premature death of his son. That time, Angira and Narad came and instructed Chitraketu into divine knowledge, and they brought the dead son back, and the dead son spoke, saying, how the relationships are temporary. So Chitraketu was kind of detached, and then he was given this particular special mantra by Narada. And Chitraketu chanted that mantra for 7 days. And then he saw Lord Sankarshan face to face. So then Chitraketu became the king of Vidyadhara Loka. There is a planet, Vidyadhara. There are several planets, higher planets. So on the Vidyadhara Loka, he became the ruler actually of Vidyadhara Loka, and he was given a special chariot by the Lord, basically airplane. So he was roaming in that aerial um, um, aerial space, using this airplane and surrounded by women, but he was always chanting the holy name of the Lord Sankarshan. So um, when he was wandering in that airplane, he saw once um, he saw Lord Shiva um, giving a discourse to saintly people. So there were Kumaras, there Narada Muni was also present in that assembly, and other great sages were also present. So Lord Shiva was lecturing, and King Chitraketu saw that Lord Shiva made her wife sit on his lap while giving the discourse. So Chitraketu laughed loudly, looking at this scene. But he also mentioned Lord Shiva. He praised Lord Shiva. He's a spiritual master of the people. He sets wonderful etiquette for the people in general to follow, and he's speaker of the religion, chief of all embodied beings. So he praised Lord Shiva, um, and but he loudly said, how can uh, Lord Shiva, uh, you know, mm, basically he criticized. He's not an offender. Um, he loudly spoke like this. So, like ordinary people, they embrace their wife in a solitary place. But Lord Mahadev, why is he doing this openly? So Chitraketu said like that. So we'll read a couple of purports here. Um, so we'll read purport to text 425. Would anybody like to read the purport?
I
Anybody?
can, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Please, Mataji.
The purport is that the Supreme Personality of Godhead wanted to bring Chitraketu to Vaikuntha Loka as soon as possible. The Lord's plan was that Chitraketu be cursed by Parvati to become Vratsura so that in his next life he could quickly return home back to Godhead. There have been many instances in which a devotee acting as a demon has been brought to the kingdom of God by the mercy of the Lord. For Parvati to be embraced by Lord Shiva was natural in a relationship between husband and wife. This was nothing extraordinary for Chitraketu to see. Nonetheless, Chitraketu laughed loudly excuse me, to see Lord Shiva in that situation, even though he should not have done so. Thus he was eventually cursed, and this curse was the cause of his returning home back to Godhead.
Mm. Yeah, so this whole pastime is actually the arrangement of the Lord. Uh, uh, if you acharyas tell us that this entire situation has been created by the Lord so that Chitraketu um, can return home quickly, because he was rather than going back to Godhead, he was just roaming with the women of Vidyadhar Loka in that airplane. So Lord had created a situation. Mm. So why did Chitraketu criticize the Lord? So he should have. Um, the thing is, he's concerned about Lord Shiva. What do people think of Lord Shiva? You know, um, although he is not affected by that situation, Lord Shiva is a great person. He's Dhira. Nothing can affect him. Yet there's an example uh, that need to be set for the common people to follow. But although there is a way of telling rather than, criticizing it openly in front of the assembled members there, uh, he is not an offender in Daksha. Let's compare this situation with Daksha's pastime. Daksha was an offender. He was envious of Lord Shiva. He had an ill intention. Whereas Chitraketu, hmm, so he had a good intention, but the expression was that what should we say? Although Chitraketu criticized Lord Shiva, he did not offend Shiva like Daksha. Daksha considered Lord Shiva insignificant, but Chitraketu expressed his wonder at Shiva being situated in that way. Chitraketu appreciated how Shiva was unaffected even though in that situation. So it is mentioned that there is a little tinge of pride in Chitraketu Maharaj, because he had he had the darshan of Sankarshan, Lord Sankarshan, and he was given this special role of ruler of Vidyadhara planet, and he was given this special airplane. It is said that there is a little bit of tinge of pride in Chitraketu Maharaj. Mm. But what did Lord Shiva do? Lord Shiva simply smiled and remained silent. If, of course, even in Daksha's case also, if you remember in the fourth canto, when Daksha was criticizing, how did Lord Shiva behave? He kept silent only. He was silent. Here he smiled, there he did not smile. He was silent when Daksha was cursing, and he left that place. Here he smiled, he was silent, he did not left that place. Also, if the sages, if the sages felt it was completely out of out of character for Chitraketu to do so, they would have blocked their ears and left that place. They didn't do so. Yeah, so, and we will see later on what happens. Yeah, so although Chitraketu never meant to insult Lord Shiva, he should not have criticized the Lord despite his transgressing of social customs. Chitraketu was somewhat proud at having achieved Lord Sankarshana's favor, and therefore thought fearlessly that he could criticize even Lord Shiva. Hmm. Lord Shiva is much greater, much senior to Chitraketu Maharaj. So Acharyas tell us that he should not have criticized in that way. There is a bit of tinge of pride, but at the same time, entire pastime as entire situation is created by the Lord, so that Chitraketu can comes back to or goes back to the Sankarshan quickly. That is the whole intention. Okay, so let's move on to the next section. Kiran Kohli Mataji, would you like to read the next section from 11 till 15?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you.
So is this, text 6?
Sorry, I beg your pardon, from 11 till 15.
11. Okay, so yeah, it's come up now.
Okay, so you can also read 10. Yeah.
Okay, so not knowing the prowess of Lord Shiva and Parvati, Chitraketu strongly criticized them. His statements were not at all pleasing, and therefore the goddess Parvati, being very angry, spoke as follows to Chitraketu, who thought himself better than Lord Shiva in controlling the senses. Text 11. The goddess Parvati said, "Alas, has this upstart now received a post from which to punish shameless persons like us? Has he been appointed ruler, courier of the rod of punishment, or is he now the only master of everything?" Text 12. Alas, Lord Brahma, who has taken his birth from the lotus flower, does not know the principles of religion, nor do the great saints like Bhrigu and Narad, nor the four Kumaras headed by Sant Kumara, Manu, and Kapila have also forgotten the religious principles. I suppose it to be because of this that they have not tried to stop Lord Shiva from behaving improperly. Text 13. This Chitraketu is the lowest of Kshatriyas, for he has impudently overridden Brahma and the other demigods by insulting Lord Shiva, upon whose lotus feet they always meditate. Lord Shiva is personified religion and the spiritual master of the entire world, and therefore Chitraketu must be punished. Text 14. This person is puffed up because of his achievements, thinking, I'm the best. He does not deserve to approach the shelter of Lord Vishnu's lotus feet, which are worshipped by all saintly persons, for he is impudent, thinking himself greatly important. Text 15. O impudent one, my dear son, now take birth in a low, sinful family of demons, so that you will not commit such an offense again towards exalted saintly persons in this world.
Thank you very much. So Lord Shiva, he did not say much, but wife took it little seriously. Mm. It is quite natural, you know, um, that wife becomes angry, when husband is criticized. And she said that, the other great personalities, they know the religious principles. They never said anything to Lord Shiva. You are very junior compared to Lord Brahma, Bhrigu, Narada, Kumaras, mm, Kapila. All these people, they know very well about the religious principles, and they never, you know, said anything to Lord Shiva like this. Mm. So saying this, you need some punishment uh, for this improper behavior, and saying this, you know, Mother Parvati curses Chitraketu. Actually, you don't deserve the shelter of Lord Vishnu. She says that, but anyway, after uh, giving up the body of demon, he goes back to Sankarshan, right? So she says like that, you don't deserve the shelter of Lord Vishnu's lotus feet. You should take birth in a low, sinful family of demons, so that you will never commit such an offense again towards the exalted personalities in this world. So let's see if we can. Our purport is big, but we will take some important points from that curse. So this is like a mother's punishment. Mother Parvati is the mother of this entire world. Hmm. So a mother's punishment to a misbehaving son is actually out of natural affection. For Chitraketu, Parvati's curse was a boon, because after taking birth as demon Vritrasura, he was promoted directly to Vaikuntha. Being born as Vritrasura, he increased his prema and he went back to Godhead. So that one more short birth was required to to purify the remaining, karma, so to say, because it is said by Acharya there was a little tinge of pride in him, and the Lord had arranged this situation. Mm. So if you see that, when Twashta performs this sacrifice, he appeared in the sacrifice, and then he fought with Indra. Chitraketu Maharaj became demon, divine demon Vrutrasura, and then that's it. Indra killed Vrutrasura. Vrutrasura actually encouraged Indra to kill him, and then he went back to Godhead. So that was a boon actually for Vrutrasura. And see how Chitraketu Maharaj responded, rather than reacted, responded to this situation, being cursed by Mother Parvati. And this section is beautiful. This section and the next section is so beautiful. Who would like to read this next section, please? Everyone being quiet today.
I can carry on. Sorry.
Okay, yeah. Carry on. No, carry on. Thank you.
No, it's okay. If you want to read, please go
Yeah,
ahead.
Meena Mataji, you go on, and then after that I can ask Kiran. 16 to 25.
Thank you. Sri Shukdev Goswami continued, My dear King Parikshit, when Chitraketu was cursed by Parvati, he descended from his airplane, bowed before her with great humility, and pleased her completely. Chitraketu said, My dear mother, with my own hands folded together, I accept the curse upon me. I do not mind the curse, for happiness and distress are given by the demigods as a result of one's past deeds. Deluded by ignorance, the living entity wanders in the forest of this material world, enjoying the happiness and distress resulting from his past deeds, everywhere and at all times. Therefore, my dear mother, neither you nor I am to be blamed for this incident. In this material world, neither the living entity himself nor others, friends and enemies, are the cause of material happiness and distress. But because of gross ignorance, the living entity thinks that he and others are the cause. This material world resembles the waves of a constantly flowing river. Therefore, what is a curse and what is a favor? What are the heavenly planets and what are the hellish planets? What is actually happiness and what is actually distress? Because the waves flow constantly, none of them has an eternal effect. This material the Supreme Personality. Yeah. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is one, unaffected by the conditions of the material world. He creates all the conditioned souls by his own personal potency. Because of being contaminated by the material energy, the living entity is put into ignorance and thus into different conditions of bondage. Sometimes by knowledge, the living entity is given liberation. In Sattva Guna and Raja Guna, he is subjected to happiness and distress. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is equally disposed toward all living entities. Therefore, no one is very dear to him, and no one is a great enemy for him. No one is his friend, and no one is his relative. Being unattached to the material world, he has no affection for so-called happiness or hatred for so-called distress. The two terms, happiness and distress, are relative. Since the Lord is always happy, for him there is no question of distress. Although the Supreme Lord is unattached to our happiness and distress according to karma, and although no one is his enemy or favorite, he creates pious and impious activities through the agency of his material potency. Thus, for the continuation of the materialistic way of life, he creates happiness and distress, good fortune and bad, bondage and liberation, birth and death. Do you want me to read till 25, Prabhuji?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Oh, mother, you are now unnecessarily angry, but since all my happiness and distress are destined by my past activities, I do not plead to be excused or relieved from your curse. Although what I have said is not wrong, please let please let whatever you think is wrong be pardoned. Sri Shukdev Goswami continued, O King Parikshit, subduer of the enemy, after Chitraketu satisfied Lord Shiva and his wife Parvati, he boarded his airplane and left as they looked on. When Lord Shiva and Parvati saw that Chitraketu, although informed of the curse, was unafraid, they smiled, being fully astonished by his behavior. Hare Krishna.
So, if you were in Chitraketu Maharaj's place, how would you felt or reacted? So, Maharaj Chitraket got down that airplane, so came to Mother Parvati, and he said, with great humility, he said that I'm accepting the curse, that he was accepting the curse with folded hands. And then he spoke philosophy. So we mentioned a few times, but this course was a boon. Once again, I just want to mention, why did actually this was arranged by Lord Sankarshan, as we said. Lord Sankarshan wanted Chitraketu Maharaj to return to Vaikunta as soon as possible. So he therefore he inspired Mother Parvati to curse Chitraketu. So in this way, and he wanted to, through this, he wanted to show that how a great devotee behaves in the difficult situation. One is to return to Vaikunta quickly, to show how a great devotee behaves in a difficult situation and sees the curses to be blessings, and he sees heaven, hell, liberation equally. And also he wanted to remove the improper life of Chitraketu as the leader of Vidyadhara. We mentioned this also. And he wanted to increase Chitraketu's hunger for prema by fire of separation. So these are some of the points that have been mentioned by the acharyas.
Hare Krishna, sorry. Why did then he inspire Parvati to do that? Why didn't he curse himself? Because he's never angry, or because he's Bholenath?
There is a situation, that's it. Like, Lord, Lord does many things through many people. So, that was the situation. He created an entire situation.
Yes. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah. So, say, for example, for many, for us also, there are some difficulties and challenges, reversals. And when they come, we also learn some lessons. Lord always wants to teach some lessons. The point here is that how Chitraketu Maharaj responded. He accepted. He knows that this material world is dukkhalema shashvatam, is full of misery and it's temporary. There is an example of this material world is like a salt mine. You are in the salt mine and looking for sugar. you won't get it. So he says, yes, this is sometimes in the material world, we are in the heaven, sometimes we are in the hell. They are all equal, my mother. Please forgive me. He actually says that, I do not try to justify my speech, but whatever you think is wrong in my speech, please pardon me. Uh, uh, and he accepted the curse. He didn't say anything. And then, he boarded the airplane. So thus, he satisfied both Lord Shiva and Parvati. And he left that place. Hmm. So now it's Lord Shiva's response after seeing the behavior of Chitraketu. This is a very beautiful section. So who would like to read? Next section from 26 till 38. Kiran Koli Mataji, would you like to read?
Yes, Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. So from text
26 till 38. Are you reading from the book or?
No, I'm reading from the phone.
Okay.
So text 28, did you say?
26.
Okay, it's not, it's a bit. Okay. Thereafter, in the presence of the great sage Narad, the demons and the inhabitants of the Siddha Loka and his personal associates, Lord Shiva, who's most powerful, spoke to his wife Parvati while they all listened. Text 27. Lord Shiva said, "My dear beautiful Parvati, have you seen the greatness of the Vaishnavas, being servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Hari? They are great souls and are not interested in any kind of material happiness." Text 28. Devotees solely engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, never fear any conditions of life. For them, the heavenly planets, liberation, and the hellish planets are all the same. For such devotees are interested only in the service of the Lord. Text 29. Because of the actions of the Supreme Lord's external energy, the living entities are conditioned in contact with the material bodies. The dualities of happiness and distress, birth and death, curses and favors are natural byproduct of the contact of the material world. Text 30. As one mistakenly considers a flower garland to be a snake, or experience happiness and distress in a dream, so in the material world, by lack of careful consideration, we differentiate between happiness and distress, considering one good and the other bad. Text 31. Persons engaged in devotional service of Lord Vasudeva, Krishna, have naturally perfect knowledge and detachment from the material world. Therefore, such devotees are not interested in the so-called happiness or so-called distress of the world. Text 32. Neither I, Lord Shiva, nor Brahma, nor the Ashwani Kumaras, nor Narad, nor the other great sages who are Brahma's sons, nor even the demigods can understand the pastimes and personality of the Supreme Lord. Although we are part of the Supreme Lord, we consider ourselves independent, separate controllers, and thus we cannot understand his identity. Text 33. He holds no one as very dear and no one in as inimical. He has no one for his own relative, and no one is as alien to him as he's actually the soul of living entities. Thus, he's the auspicious friend of all living beings and is very near and dear to all of them. Text 34-35. The magnitude.
This magnanimous.
This magnanimous Chitraketu is a dear devotee of the Lord. He is equal to all living entities and is free from attachment and hatred. Similarly, I'm also very dear to Lord Narayana. Therefore, no one should be astonished to see the activities of the most exalted devotees of Narayana, for they are free from attachment and envy. They are always peaceful and they are equal to everyone. Text 36. Shri Sukdev Goswami said, O king, after hearing the speech by her husband, the demigods, Uma, the wife of Lord Shiva, gave up the astonishment of the behavior of King Chitraketu and became steady in intelligence. Should I carry on?
Yeah, two more, please.
Okay. Text 37. The great devotee Chitraketu was so powerful that he was quite competent to curse Mother Parvati in retaliation. But instead of doing this, he very humbly accepted the curse and bowed his head before Lord Shiva and his wife. This is very much to be appreciated as the standard behavior of the Vaishnavas. Text 38. Being cursed by Mother Durga Bhavani, the wife of Lord Shiva, the same Chitraketu accepted birth in a demonic species of life. Although still fully equipped with transcendental knowledge and practical application of that knowledge in life, he appeared as a demon at the fire sacrifice performed by Twata, and thus, Vasta. And thus he became famous as Vratasura.
Thank you very much, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So, Lord Shiva, he spoke in the assembly of all the Vaishnavas. As I mentioned, Narad, Kumaras, Siddhas were also there in that great assembly. So you said, my dear beautiful Parvati, so have you seen the greatness of Vaishnavas? So being servant of the servant of Lord Hari, they are not interested in any kind of material happiness. So I'll read the purport to this one and the next one. These are very important. Lord Shiva, the husband of Parvati, told his wife, "My dear Parvati, you are very beautiful in your bodily features. Certainly you are glorious, but I do not think that you can compete with the beauty and glory of devotees who have become servants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead." Of course, Lord Shiva smiled when he joked with his wife in that way, for others cannot speak like that. The Supreme Lord Shiva continued, is always exalted in his activities, and there is another example of his wonderful influence upon King Chitraketu, his devotee. Just see, although you cursed the king, he was not at all afraid or sorry. Rather, he offered respect to you, called you mother, and accepted your curse, thinking himself faulty. He did not say anything in retaliation. This is the excellence of a devotee. By mildly tolerating your curse, he has certainly excelled the glory of your beauty and your power to curse him. I can impartially judge that this devotee Chitraketu has defeated you and your excellence. Prabhupada writes a wonderful purport. Has defeated you and your excellence simply by becoming a pure devotee of the Lord. As stated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Tarorapi Saishna, just like tree, a devotee can tolerate all kinds of curses and reversals in his life. In life, this is the excellence of a devotee. Indirectly, Lord Shiva forbade Parvati to commit the mistake of cursing a devotee like Chitraketu. He indicated that although she was powerful, the king, without showing any power, had excelled her power by his tolerance. So, Prabhupada wrote some wonderful purport here. Um, so, he's saying that the behavior shown and demonstrated by Chitraketu, being tolerant and accepting the curse, offering apology, was such a glorious thing for a devotee. And that's what Lord Shiva says. And this next verse is a very famous verse. Prabhupada quoted this verse many times. If possible, you can memorize. नारायण परा सर्वे न कुतश्चन बिभ्यति स्वर्गापवर्ग नरकेष्व अपि तुल्यार्थदर्शिनः. So devotees solely engaged in devotional service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead Narayana never fear any condition of life. Na kutashchana bibhyati. They never fear. This fearlessness is a quality of a devotee. Abhay. Prabhupada's name was Abhay Charan. Abhay means fearlessness. Who will become fearless? One who has fully taken shelter of the Lord, fully depends on the Lord in every situation, fully sees the presence of Lord everywhere. They become fearless. They see everything. Oh, this is Lord's arrangement. I deserve it. Nakutaschana bhibyati. They will never, afraid of any condition of life. For them, for devotees who have fully surrendered to the Lord, for them, heavenly planets, liberation, and hellish planets, they're all same. There is no difference for them. Because they see, you see here, in the body of Chitraketu, in the body of Vrutrasura, demon, he was a great devotee. For him, it was, nothing. He was still a great devotee. Externally, one may say that he's a demon, but in the body of demon, he was exhibiting devotees' qualities. So that's why Lord Shiva is saying, this is a famous verse by Lord Shiva, for devotees who have fully taken shelter of the Lord, for them heaven, hell, liberation, all are equal. We'll read this little purport also. Parvati might naturally have inquired how devotees become so exalted. Therefore, this verse explains that they are Narayana Para, simply dependent on Narayana. They do not mind reverses in life because in the service of Narayana, they have learned to tolerate whatever hardships there may be. They do not care whether they are in heaven or in hell. They simply engage in the service of the Lord. This was demonstrated by Chitraketu in the body of Rudrasura. He was engaged. He was engaged in the service of the Lord. This is This is their excellence. Anukulyena Krishnanushilanam. They are liberally engaged in the service of the Lord, and therefore they are excellent. By using the word Bhrutya, Bhrutyanam, Lord Shiva pointed out that although Chitraketu provided one example of tolerance and excellence, all the devotees who have taken shelter of the Lord as eternal servants are glorious. They have no engagements to be happy by being placed in the heavenly planets, becoming liberated, or becoming one with the Brahman, the supreme effulgence. These benefits do not appeal to their minds. They are simply interested in giving direct service to the Lord. Such a beautiful purport. And this way, Lord Shiva glorifies Chitraketu Maharaj. Both Chitraketu and I are very dear to Lord. He says, and the behavior demonstrated by Chitraketu is a standard behavior for a devotee. And it is said that although Chitraketu was capable of counter-cursing, he didn't do so. And but humbly accepted her curse and bowed before Shiva and Parvati and then left. And Shukadeva Goswami is telling that same Chitraketu appeared as a Rudrasura in the fire sacrifice performed by Twashta. And we know how that Rudrasura fought with Indra and left, to Vaikuntha. So, and the last two verses of this chapter, they give you Falashruti, the benefit of reading and hearing this particular pastime of Chitraketu Maharaj. 39 and 41, I'll just read quickly. 39 till 41. My dear Parikshit, you inquired from me how Rudrasura, a great devotee, took birth in a demonic family. So this was Maharaj Parikshit's question. How was Rudrasura a great devotee like? Thus I try to explain to you everything about this incident. Chitraketu was a great devotee, Mahatma. If one hears this history of Chitraketu from a pure devotee, the listener also is freed from the conditioned life of material existence. One who rises from bed early in the morning and recites the history of Chitraketu, controlling his words and mind and remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead, will return home back to Godhead without difficulty. So this is the Falashruti offered by Chitraketu Maharaj. So, in brief, Chitraketu Maharaj after seeing Lord Sankarshan face to face, and after offering prayers to Lord Sankarshan, he was awarded a special aerial mansion, airplane, and he became the leader of Vidyadhara planet. He was roaming in that airplane with the beautiful girls of Vidyadhara Loka, and at the same time glorifying the Lord. While wandering in the outer space, once he came upon a scene wherein Lord Shiva was discoursing, lecturing to an assembled sages, and in that lecture, Lord Shiva made his wife sit on his lap while giving the lecture. So Chitraketu Maharaj laughed loudly, looking at this behavior of Lord Shiva, and he criticized Lord Shiva. Although he did not offend, his intention is not an offender, but his intention is also, he just wondered, how can you do? His intention was not wrong. So then Lord Shiva kept quiet and he smiled after hearing from Chitraketu. All the sages, they did not block their ears. They did not leave that place. They also stayed with Lord Shiva. But however, Mother Parvati became angry and she cursed him to become a demon. So Chitraketu got down the airplane and offered his apology to Mother Parvati and accepted the curse, and said that this is the nature of the material world. It's like a salt, and what is it? So material world is a place of full of miseries, salt mine. If someone tries to find a sugar in it, it would be difficult for them to find. And he just accepted the curse and he left. Although he was capable of doing counter cursing Mother Parvati, Lord Shiva glorified Chitraketu's behavior. And Mother Parvati was astonished and pacified. And that was a great behavior. How do great devotees behave? So this is how the chapter ends. And that same Chitraketu was born as Brutrasura in the sacrifice conducted by Twashta. And so Palashruti was offered, so that purifies us, and we also eventually go back to Godhead. Hare Krishna. I will have to stop here. So thank you very much for your kind attention and participation. Srila
Thank you,
Prabhupada
Prabhuji.
ki jai. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Thank you. Bye.